Emma stood in front of the large window of her cozy cabin, looking out at the tall trees swaying gently in the breeze. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting playful patterns on the wooden floor. It was a beautiful day in early spring, but inside her heart, it felt like winter. At 28, she was pregnant and alone, grappling with a whirlwind of emotions that made her feel as if she were walking through a storm. Just weeks ago, everything seemed different. Emma had been happily planning her future with Jake, sharing dreams of parenthood and a home filled with laughter. But things had changed abruptly when Jake announced he could not handle the responsibilities of becoming a father. The breakup came as a shock. They were supposed to be a team. Now, she felt like a lone ship lost at sea, tossed by waves of doubt and sadness. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe for more, and tell me where you are watching from. As she placed her hand on her rounded belly, Emma sighed deeply. The life growing inside her brought her joy, but it was intertwined with feelings of heartbreak and fear. She thought about the little one who would soon enter the world, wondering how she would manage it all on her own. Would she be enough? Could she provide a loving environment without the support of a partner? These questions buzzed around in her mind like pesky bees. Feeling overwhelmed, Emma turned away from the window and wandered through the cabin. It was small but comfortable, filled with warm colors and soft lighting that made it feel like a refuge from her troubles. She had decided to spend some time here to escape, an isolated place where she could think and find herself again. As she grabbed a blanket from the couch and settled into an armchair near the fireplace, Emma closed her eyes for just a moment. Memories of happier times flooded back. Jake's laughter echoed in her mind. Their shared moments danced in vivid colors. But those memories quickly turned bitter as she remembered how things had ended. The crackling fire provided some comfort as it warmed the chilly air around her. Yet even that warmth couldn't lift the heaviness weighing on her heart. She missed not just Jake, but the dreams they had built together, the nursery they would decorate, and the family gatherings they planned to host. Now those visions felt like broken pieces scattered across a floor that couldn't be swept clean. As she stared into the flames flickering in front of her, Emma allowed herself to think about what lay ahead. Facing motherhood alone was daunting. She had heard stories from friends about how difficult parenting could be, even with partners by their side. How would she handle sleepless nights and endless diaper changes without anyone to share the load? Each thought sent ripples of anxiety through her mind. But beneath that anxiety was something else, a stubborn glimmer of determination. Somehow, she knew deep down that she could do this. She had always been resilient. It was part of who she was. With every breath, Emma tried to embrace that fierce spirit within her. Suddenly, an unexpected sound shattered her thoughts. A rustling noise outside brought Emma back to reality with a jolt. She turned toward the door, wondering if perhaps nature itself had decided to interrupt her contemplation. As silence returned once again, Emma felt both curious and apprehensive about what might happen next in this isolated haven she'd chosen for herself. After a long drive filled with swirling thoughts and heavy silence, Emma finally spotted the winding gravel path that led to the cabin. The sun was beginning to dip behind the trees, casting a golden glow over the landscape. She felt a sense of relief wash over her as she parked the car and stepped out into the crisp air. Here in this tranquil place, she hoped to find some peace. As she walked toward the entrance of the cabin, surrounded by towering pines and blooming wildflowers, each step felt like a journey away from her worries. The chirping of birds and the distant sound of a babbling brook created a soothing soundtrack that calmed her racing heart. Emma took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the fresh scent of earth and pine needles. This was precisely what she needed, a break from everything that had been weighing heavily on her mind. Opening the door, she was greeted by a sense of warmth and familiarity. The cabin's wooden walls were adorned with rustic furnishings, each piece telling its own story. Emma had visited this place many times before, but today it felt different. Today it represented an escape from heartache, a sanctuary where she could confront her feelings without distraction. She set down her bag and glanced around, letting her gaze wander over the cozy living room filled with soft cushions and blankets. The fireplace stood ready for use, its mantel adorned with small trinkets that reminded her of simpler times spent here with friends. But now, surrounded by memories, she felt an ache in her heart. It was hard not to recall moments when laughter echoed off the walls. Emma wandered to the kitchen area, pouring herself a glass of water while staring out the window at the vast forest beyond. She watched as sunlight filtered through leaves, each ray shimmering like hope trying to break through her clouded thoughts. Closing her eyes for a moment, she allowed herself to feel the gentle breeze against her face. It seemed to whisper promises of healing and renewal. As evening approached, Emma lit candles throughout the cabin, creating a warm glow that danced across the room. She settled into an armchair by the fire with a journal in hand, a trusted companion in times of need. With trembling fingers, she began to write about everything that swirled inside her. The heartache of losing Jake, fears about being a single mother, and dreams that now felt shattered. Each word flowed onto the page like water from a spring, unfiltered and raw. It was freeing to let go of emotions she had kept bottled up for so long. In each sentence penned under flickering candlelight, Emma found clarity amidst confusion. Her reflections encouraged her to embrace vulnerability rather than hide from it. After writing for what felt like hours, Emma paused and gazed into the flames crackling in front of her. She realized how important this solitary time was, how crucial it was for healing and self-discovery. Away from distractions and hurtful reminders of her past life with Jake, she could focus on what lay ahead. As night fell outside and shadows danced along the walls, Emma felt something shift within her, a blend of sadness mingled with newfound strength that gave her hope for tomorrow. She knew this retreat into solitude wouldn't erase her heartbreak or fears overnight, but it was a necessary step toward finding herself again. With each moment spent in this secluded cabin surrounded by nature's beauty, Emma realized that sometimes you must retreat inward before you can move forward. Learning to appreciate who you are before opening your heart to new possibilities ahead. As night wrapped the cabin in a comforting embrace, Emma settled deeper into her armchair, the flickering firelight casting dancing shadows on the walls. She hugged her knees to her chest, feeling a mix of warmth from the flames and a chill running through her as thoughts of uncertainty loomed. Alone with her swirling emotions, she struggled to find balance between hope and doubt. It was hard not to think about the future. With each moment that passed, Emma's mind spiraled into an endless loop of worry about what it meant to be a single mother. Would she be able to handle the endless responsibilities? How would she support herself and her child? The weight of these questions felt heavy on her heart. It was as if they were stones tied around her ankles, pulling her down into a sea of anxiety. She recalled how she had once envisioned this moment differently. Jake by her side, both of them excitedly preparing for their baby's arrival. Instead, here she was, alone and grappling with feelings of loss that went beyond just their relationship. The dreams they had shared now felt like distant echoes in a dark hallway where light never reached. Emma closed her eyes tightly as tears slipped down her cheeks. In the back of her mind, she repeated his words from that awful conversation. The reasons he gave for leaving had cut deep. He hadn't felt ready. He had been scared. And now she was left to face all those fears alone. The baby inside her kicked gently, as if sensing her turmoil, reminding Emma that there was still life growing within. And perhaps that was worth fighting for. After taking a shaky breath, Emma opened her eyes again and let them roam around the cabin. She spotted photographs on the walls, joyful faces frozen in time during happier days spent with friends and family at this very retreat. Each image told stories filled with laughter and love. Though bittersweet now, they reminded her of moments when connections felt strong and unbreakable. She picked up her journal once more and began writing again, pouring out every emotion without holding back. She explored how terrifying it felt to be responsible for another life without support. How daunting it was to stare at an uncertain path ahead while wrestling with loneliness. Writing became not just an escape, but also a process of untangling the knots in her heart. With each sentence that flowed from pen to paper, Emma acknowledged both sides of herself. The fearful woman who couldn't see how she would manage everything alone, and the resilient spirit who knew deep down that she could learn and grow through any challenge life tossed at her way. It was an internal tug-of-war between despair and hope. A battle between wanting to hide away forever in sorrow or embracing the new journey waiting ahead. After several pages filled with raw honesty about vulnerability, came silence. Even the crackling fire began to settle into a gentle glow. As Emma paused writing, an odd sense of calm washed over her, like warm sunlight, breaking through clouds after a storm. Perhaps being alone didn't mean she had to feel lonely. Maybe solitude could become a space for healing instead. In this little cabin, surrounded by nature's beauty, Emma understood that accepting uncertainty was part of becoming a mother. And it was okay not to have all the answers right now. With renewed clarity dawning upon her heart amidst shadows flickering around them, she took another deep breath, allowing hope to seep back in as she prepared herself for whatever came next on this unexpected journey toward motherhood. As Emma's thoughts danced between past and present, she found herself drifting back into the warm cocoon of her memories with Jake. She could almost feel the golden sunlight that had bathed their moments together, lighting up both their faces and the world around them. It had all seemed so perfect back then, like a fairy tale written just for them. Emma recalled the first time they met at a mutual friend's barbecue. Jake's laughter had been infectious, easily drawing her in as he animatedly shared stories about his childhood adventures. His warm brown eyes sparkled with mischief and kindness, making her feel like she was the only one in the room. It didn't take long for them to be inseparable, laughing over shared meals and weekend hikes, exploring the beauty of nature that surrounded their city. One memory stood out more than others: their impromptu camping trip to a nearby lake. They set up their tent under a sky full of stars, roasting marshmallows over an open fire. The way they whispered secrets together as shadows flickered around them felt magical. They talked late into the night about dreams of the future, imagining a life filled with love, children, and endless adventures. Emma had felt an electric connection that made her heart race with excitement. Those moments defined their relationship: the laughter, the comfortable silences, the feeling of belonging. Emma had believed they were building something everlasting. So when the news of her pregnancy came, It felt like a dream realized. She could already see Jake holding their baby in his arms, laughing and playing in sunshine, everything she'd ever hoped for. But those dreams started to unravel soon after. As excitement turned into reality, Emma noticed a change in Jake. He began withdrawing from her, spending more time at work and less time dreaming about their future together. She remembered one particular night when she had brought home baby books filled with ideas for names and nursery designs, hoping to ignite that spark again. Instead, Jake had looked overwhelmed and distant, his smile replaced by a furrowed brow. "Heavy is the head that wears the crown," he'd said that night, running his hand through his hair with frustration. "I just don't know if I'm ready for all this." Emma's heart sank as realization washed over her. It wasn't just excitement that scared Jake. It was the fear of stepping into a new role he felt unprepared for. Their conversations began to devolve into arguments tinged with uncertainty, each one fracturing the bond they once cherished so deeply. Over time, Emma came to recognize something troubling. It wasn't merely fear of fatherhood driving them apart. It was also an unwillingness to communicate openly. She fought against feelings of abandonment as she tried to reach out, only to face walls instead of the connection they once had shared so freely. The dreams they'd spun together began to slip away like sand through her fingers. When Jake finally broke up with her under the weight of mounting pressures, his voice thick with uncertainty as he told her he couldn't be the father she wanted, it shattered Emma's world. The echoes of laughter turned into haunting reminders of what could have been. Now back in her cabin, enveloped by shadows and flickering firelight, Emma felt bittersweet about those flashes of joy mixed with sorrow. She longed for security in what once was but knew all too well that clinging to those memories would not solve anything. Instead, it anchored her in sadness when she needed to be free. With a deep breath, Emma returned her focus to the present moment within those wooden walls, quiet yet charged with possibilities ahead. She understood that while the past was woven tightly into her heart, it was time to release those memories, to embrace whatever lay ahead as she braced herself for motherhood alone. Each step forward would be its own adventure, a new story waiting to unfold beyond heartbreak and loss. The fire crackled softly, creating a comforting backdrop to Emma's thoughts as she sat in her cabin, lost in her reflections about the past. The evening had grown darker, and the shadows danced along the wooden walls, adding to the cozy atmosphere she desperately needed. Yet, an unsettling chill crept into the air, making her shiver despite the warmth of the flames. Emma had settled into a peaceful routine that evening, writing in her journal and sipping herbal tea. Just as she began to feel a sense of calm wash over her, a sudden sound broke through the serene silence. It started as a faint whisper, almost like the rustling of leaves outside. But then it grew clearer, an unmistakable voice calling out softly from beyond the cabin door. "Emma." Her heart raced at the sound. For a moment, she thought she might have imagined it. But then it came again, more insistent this time. "Emma." The voice floated on the wind, drifting through the trees and sending shivers down her spine. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she sat frozen in place. Who could be out there? This cabin was secluded, miles away from any neighbors or towns. Was it just her mind playing tricks on her after all those hours spent alone? She told herself to breathe and reassured herself that it was probably just an animal or the wind playing games with her imagination. But curiosity and fear pulled at her. She stood up slowly and walked toward the door, pausing to listen once more. Silence enveloped the cabin now, leaving only the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. With hesitant steps, she reached for the door handle and paused again. What if it was someone who needed help, or was it something else entirely? Taking a deep breath, Emma opened the door slightly and peered outside into the darkness. The moon cast a silvery glow over everything, illuminating the path leading away from her cabin, but leaving shadows lurking in every corner. She squinted into the night, but saw no one. "Hello?" she called out tentatively, feeling silly for speaking into the void. There was no reply, only an echo of her own voice returning to her from somewhere deep within the woods. Just as she began to close the door, thinking perhaps this was just a figment of her stressed mind, she heard it again. A soft whisper carried by the wind that sent chills racing down her spine. Emma. That name echoed with an eerie familiarity that made her blood run cold. She felt a pull toward whatever might be hiding in those shadows, not out of bravery, but rather out of desperation for answers or reassurance that she wasn't truly alone in this vast wilderness. Her heart thumped wildly as she stepped outside fully now, drawn by something stronger than fear, an instinctive need to confront whatever mystery lay ahead. "Who's there?" she called out again with more confidence this time. The forest fell silent once more. Even nocturnal creatures seemed to hold their breath. Emma strained to listen closely. Uncertainty clawed at her insides like fingernails on wood. Then came another whisper, a gentle breeze carrying words that felt like both a warning and an invitation. "Help me." The plea echoed softly around her, like a haunting lullaby designed to lure someone deeper into its embrace. Emma stood rooted to the spot, torn between wanting to retreat back inside where safety resided and needing to explore this strange call for help that beckoned through layers of darkness surrounding her cabin. In that moment of indecision, with uncertainty swirling like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind, Emma realized this was no ordinary night. Something had shifted within her world once again, and perhaps facing it head-on would provide answers, or lead her down a path she never expected to travel alone. Emma stood at the threshold of the cabin, her heart racing as she peered into the darkness that stretched before her. The soft glow of the moon cast eerie shadows across the forest floor, and every rustle of leaves felt amplified in the stillness of the night. The voice calling her name sent a jolt of fear through her, mingling with an undeniable curiosity. Who or what was out there? Her instincts battled one another. While fear urged her to retreat back into the safety of her cabin, curiosity drove her to step further into the outside world. "Hello?" she called again, her voice trembling slightly as it broke through the silence. She strained to hear any response, her breath hitching as nothing but the gentle breeze greeted her. The warmth of the cabin faded behind her as a chill crept up her spine. This was not how she had envisioned this escape. She had come here for peace, to find solace amidst the turmoil in her heart. Yet now, she stood on the edge of something unknown, caught between wanting to run and needing to understand what this voice meant. The whisper echoed in her mind again. "Help me." Emma felt a rush of emotions overwhelm her as she contemplated the possibilities. What if someone truly needed assistance? Part of her wanted to be brave, to be that person who stepped forward when others would hide away. But the other part, that nagging voice of self-preservation, warned her to think twice before venturing further. With each moment that passed, Emma's imagination began to weave unsettling scenarios. What if it was an animal in distress? Or worse, what if it was something sinister waiting in the shadows? She clenched her fists at her sides, gathering courage as she looked around. The forest seemed alive around her, each sound amplified in the darkness, heightening her anxiety. "Is anyone there?" She called out one more time, hoping for a definitive answer that might quell her fears. But all that greeted her was silence, broken only by the rustling leaves and the distant croaking of frogs hidden near the water. Taking a deeper breath, she moved forward slowly, scanning the darkened trees for any sign of movement. Her heart raced with anticipation and dread as she felt completely exposed. This was no longer just about seeking solitude. It was about confronting a mystery that had drawn her out into the night. As she edged closer to where she thought she had heard the voice come from, the thick brush just beyond the clearing, Emma felt a combination of vulnerability and empowerment wash over her. She was pregnant and alone in this vast wilderness. Yet here she was willing to face whatever awaited her. The complexity of emotions surged within. Perhaps this moment held significance beyond what she could see. Suddenly, there it was again. The whisper floated gently toward her like a breeze weaving through branches. "Emma." This time it struck a different chord within her. The way it carried her name felt intimate and pleading, igniting both fear and compassion within her heart. Someone, or something, out there needed help. Perhaps they were lost or scared just like she had been since Jake left. At that moment, standing in the twilight between safety and uncertainty, Emma resolved herself to find out what lay beyond those whispering shadows. She wasn't just stepping into darkness. She was stepping toward understanding, not just of whoever or whatever was out there, but also toward facing the realities of herself as a mother-to-be and a woman navigating uncharted territory. With determination outweighing fear, Emma took another step forward into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever awaited on this haunting yet mysterious night. With a deep breath, Emma summoned every ounce of courage she had as she stood on the edge of the unknown. The eerie atmosphere of the night pressed against her like a heavy blanket, but an undeniable pull urged her to step forward. She moved back toward the cabin door, gripping the handle tightly in her trembling hand. The voice had called to her once again, and now she felt a strange sense of duty to answer it. As she slowly opened the door, the wooden creak echoed through the stillness, reminding her of how exposed she was. The moonlight spilled into the warm cabin, illuminating her fleeting thoughts of protection and safety. In that moment, she was no longer just Emma, the heartbroken woman. She was also a mother-to-be seeking answers in the shadows. Peering into the dark, she squinted, trying to make sense of what lay ahead. Initially, all she saw was swirling mist and the tall silhouettes of trees looming nearby. But then, as if emerging from a dream, a figure started to materialize. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the familiar outline. It was difficult to believe her eyes. There, standing before her just outside the threshold, was someone she had not expected to see. "Jake?" she gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. The man who had left her weeks ago, the one who had shattered her dreams of a family together, now appeared almost ethereal beneath the moon's glow. His expression carried a mixture of relief and apprehension as he took a cautious step forward. "Emma," he replied softly, as if testing the weight of her name on his tongue. I've been looking for you." In that moment, time seemed to stand still. Confusion washed over her as myriad emotions swirled within. Anger, longing, hurt. Why was he here? Hadn't he already made his choice? Yet despite those burning questions, something about seeing him stirred an old warmth in her heart. "Why did you come?" Emma finally managed to ask. her voice trembling. It felt surreal to confront him again under such mysterious circumstances. I needed to talk to you, Jake said, shoving his hands into his pockets. His demeanor was unlike that of the confident man she once knew. Instead, he appeared vulnerable and uncertain. I realized I've made a terrible mistake. Emma shook her head slightly in disbelief. A mistake? You walked away from us, from everything we talked about. All I can think about is how alone I am now. Her emotions surged as memories of brighter days flooded back, laughter shared, dreams spun under starry skies, and plans they had made for their future. Jake's face twisted with regret as he stepped closer. I know I hurt you. I didn't know how to handle everything. The pressure of being a father terrified me. But seeing you here alone, it made me realize I didn't just lose you. I lost the chance to be part of something beautiful. The soft plea in his voice tugged at her heartstrings, despite all that had happened. Emma took a step back, feeling overwhelmed by the complexity of these feelings bubbling inside her. Was he remorseful enough to change? Could they mend what was broken? You wanted space, she replied quietly, searching for clarity amidst her turmoil. I thought you needed time to figure things out. He nodded, guilt etched deep in his expression. I do need time, but I also need you. Need to be there for you and our baby. His gaze shifted down toward her rounded belly, and an unspoken bond hung in the air. In that moment, Emma felt a flicker of hope igniting deep within, a small ember lighting up in the vast darkness surrounding them both. But it was met with hesitation. Could she trust him again? Trust him not just with her heart, but with their future. With uncertain resolve, she knew this encounter held more weight than either of them understood yet. The shadows around them were alive with possibilities, some painful and daunting, others filled with potential for renewal and healing. Let's talk, Emma finally said, her voice steadying as she resolved not just to explore the presence of Jake, but also to confront the depths of her own heart as they stood on the threshold of something unknown together once more. As Emma stepped onto the porch, her heart still racing from seeing Jake, she was surprised when he took a step back, clearly taken aback by her presence. The tension hung in the air like a heavy fog, but before she could say anything more, another figure emerged from the shadows to join them. Emma? The voice was softer, familiar, yet distant. Emma squinted into the dim light and felt her breath catch in her throat as recognition washed over her. Is that you, Sarah? She gasped. Standing before her was Sarah, a childhood friend Emma had lost touch with years ago. They had spent countless summers together, exploring their small town and dreaming about their futures while lying on grassy hills under the stars. But time and life had pulled them apart, and Emma hadn't expected to see her again, especially not here in the woods. Yes, it's me, Sarah replied with an excited grin that quickly turned into a look of concern as she noticed Emma's state. I can't believe it's really you. I've been looking for you. Emma blinked in disbelief, feeling overwhelmed by this unexpected reunion. What are you doing here? She asked, still struggling to process this strange twist of fate. I saw your car at the cabin earlier today, Sarah explained. I thought it might be you. I've come up here to clear my head too, just like we used to do back in the day. Her eyes softened as they met Emma's. When I heard a voice calling from outside, I knew it had to be you. Jake stood silently beside them, his expression caught between surprise and confusion as he watched this exchange unfold. Sarah, Emma began hesitantly, trying to wrap her mind around everything happening at once. It's been so long. How did you know it was me? Sarah chuckled lightly, despite the seriousness of the moment. You haven't changed much. I recognized your laugh from a mile away. She then glanced at Jake before turning back to Emma with genuine warmth. I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. The weight of those words settled on Emma's shoulders as emotions surged within her again. Years of friendship wrapped up in memories, intertwined with heartache and hope. Thank you, Emma murmured softly, feeling grateful for Sarah's presence at that moment when everything felt uncertain. Can we talk? Jake interjected gently, glancing between the two women now connected by both past and present. There was an openness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Perhaps he truly understood how important this moment was for Emma. I think we all need to talk, Emma replied slowly, realizing that both of these figures were here now for reasons beyond mere coincidence. They moved inside the cabin together, each step forward echoing with possibilities hanging in the air around them. Once settled around a small table lit by candlelight flickering softly against the walls, the warmth inviting but charged with tension. Emma could feel their collective energy shifting. So much has happened since we last spoke. Sarah began after they sat down, looking from Emma to Jake intently. I'd love to hear your story. With vulnerability knitting tightly into her heart, Emma shared her journey. Heartbreak over Jake's departure, amid newfound motherhood challenges, mixed with determination to embrace this new life ahead. Both Jake and Sarah listened intently as she poured out not just her fears, but also hopes for what might come next. Jake's eyes darkened with regret as he listened. He seemed genuinely remorseful for how things had unfolded between them. A realization settling heavy in his chest that perhaps he had been too quick to run away from something beautiful. When Emma finished speaking, silence filled the space once more. But this time it felt different. It radiated understanding instead of uncertainty. It allowed room for healing rather than holding on to regret. As they sat together around that table illuminated by flickering flames, the past intertwining with present realities, Emma felt an unexpected comfort growing within herself amidst their shadows and shared histories. This reunion had reawakened pieces of herself she thought were long gone. No matter how complicated or painful things became moving forward, maybe having friends beside her would help navigate whatever lay ahead after all. The flickering candlelight cast a warm glow around the table, enveloping Emma, Sarah, and Jake in a cocoon of intimacy and vulnerability. With the shadows dancing around them, Emma felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had spent so much time trying to navigate her feelings alone, yet now, with Sarah by her side and Jake's presence adding an unexpected layer of complexity, she felt compelled to voice her heart. Can I be honest with you both? She began, her voice wavering just slightly. I've been feeling so lost since everything happened with Jake. She glanced at him, noticing the way his expression shifted to one of concern. Becoming a mother is supposed to be a joyful thing. But right now, it feels like a weight I can't carry alone. Sarah nodded in understanding, her eyes filled with empathy. It's okay to feel scared, Emma. This is a huge change. Emma swallowed hard, tears threatening to spill. It's not just that I'm scared. It's the heartbreak that lingers. I thought Jake and I would be on this journey together. She let out a shaky breath. When I found out I was pregnant, I was overjoyed. It felt like a dream coming true. But then Jake left, and suddenly that dream turned into something terrifying. Jake's gaze dropped to the table as Emma continued, her words pouring out like a long, unreleased dam. I worry about everything, the sleepless nights, the loneliness. And what if I can't be the mother my child deserves? I never imagined I'd be doing this alone. Feeling the weight of her confession hang in the air, Emma searched both their faces for understanding. Sarah reached across the table and took Emma's hand gently, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "You're not alone," she said softly. "You have me. And whatever happens with you and Jake, remember, you can count on me." Her friend's assurance helped ease some of the tension coiling inside Emma. But then she turned to Jake, needing to confront that complex mixture of emotions swirling within her. "What about you?" she asked, her voice trembling again. "What do you want? Do you even want to be part of this child's life?" Jake inhaled deeply, his eyes reflecting regret and fear. I never wanted to walk away. I was scared and confused about being a father. But standing here now, realizing what I lost," his voice faltered as he looked at her. Vulnerability etched across his features. "I want to be there for you and for our child. I don't want to miss out on this." Emma felt her heartbeat quicken at his words, but doubt crept back in like an unwelcome fog. "But how can I trust you after everything? You walked away when it got tough," she said quietly, the hurt clear in her eyes. "I know," Jake admitted, his throat thick with emotion. "And I regret it every single day. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I just want a chance to show you I can do better. If you'll let me." The tension between them shifted as Emma contemplated his request. Her heart ached with both longing and apprehension. Could she really open that door again? Would she risk getting hurt all over? Emboldened by Sarah's supportive presence, Emma took a steadying breath. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about our baby. I need to know that you aren't just saying these things because I'm here right now." She felt tears welling again, but swallowed them back down with determination. "I need time to think about what this all means," she continued. "I have to protect myself and our baby first." A heavy silence fell over them once more as they sat in contemplation, each processing the gravity of the moment. Despite the uncertainty lingering in the air, Emma felt a spark of hope flickering within her. Perhaps this conversation could lead them to understand not only their own complex feelings, but also how they might forge forward as co-parents, whatever that might look like. With the warmth of friendship reignited and old wounds slowly beginning to heal, they prepared to navigate the uncertain road ahead together, a bond reshaped by shared vulnerabilities and hopes for a brighter future underneath the flickering candlelight in that cozy cabin. As the weight of the conversation settled among them, Sarah leaned forward, her expression softening with understanding. "Emma," she began gently, "I want you to know that it's completely normal to feel overwhelmed right now. You're going through such a huge transition, and it's okay to not have all the answers." Emma nodded, grateful for Sarah's comforting presence. "It just feels like everything is happening so fast," she admitted, her voice trembling. "One minute I was planning a future with Jake, and now I'm facing this alone." "You're not alone," Sarah reiterated firmly, squeezing Emma's hand once more. "When I went through my own heartbreak a few years ago, I felt lost too. It was as if my whole world had shifted overnight." Emma looked up at Sarah, intrigued. She hadn't realized that her friend had faced such challenges. "I lost someone I loved deeply," Sarah continued, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I thought my life was over. But through that pain, I learned something important. New beginnings often come from the ashes of what once was. It felt impossible at first, but eventually, I found my way back to myself. A flicker of hope sparked within Emma as she listened to Sarah's story. "How did you do it?" she asked, wanting to grasp onto any wisdom that could help her navigate this tumultuous time. "It wasn't easy," Sarah replied, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "There were days I didn't want to get out of bed, but I found strength in the support of my friends and family. People who reminded me that I was worthy of love and happiness, even when I felt unlovable." She paused for a moment before adding, "You have that support too, Emma." Jake shifted slightly in his chair, taking in both women's words. He felt a mixture of regret and admiration for Emma's resilience and Sarah's willingness to help her friend through such a tough time. "I may not have been there for you when you needed me most," he said softly, his voice tinged with sincerity. "But I want to be part of this journey with you now." Emma looked at Jake, reading the honesty written across his features. Despite the pain he had caused her, she sensed a longing for redemption within him, a desire to make amends and step up as a father. "Thank you both," Emma said softly, wiping away tears that had formed in her eyes. "It helps to hear that I'm not alone in this. I have so many fears about being a mother, about what happens if I mess up or if I can't give my child everything they need." "You will," Sarah reassured her with a gentle smile. "You already care so much, and that's what matters most. Just take it one day at a time. Trust your instincts. They'll guide you." Jake nodded in agreement. "And remember, if you ever feel overwhelmed, it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to do this alone, whether it's leaning on Sarah or reaching out to me." Emma felt a sense of warmth enveloping her heart as she absorbed their words. Perhaps it was possible to build a support network around herself. A family forged not just by blood, but by shared experiences and renewed connections. In that candlelit cabin filled with flickering shadows and hopeful hearts, Emma found herself embracing both the uncertainty and the possibilities of the future ahead. The road would be challenging, filled with ups and downs. But she understood now that she wouldn't be walking it alone. As they continued to talk about hopes and dreams for the baby and what co-parenting might look like, Emma realized that sharing these burdens lightened the load on her heart. With each word exchanged among them, friendship rekindled and bonds strengthened. She felt more prepared to face whatever lay ahead on this journey into motherhood. Together, they would navigate the complexities of their new reality, forming a path forward illuminated by support, love, and understanding. The very foundations needed to create a nurturing environment for the child Emma would soon welcome into the world. As the conversation settled into a more comfortable rhythm, Emma felt a wave of nostalgia wash over her, pulling her thoughts back to the happier moments she had shared with Jake and Sarah. The flickering candlelight seemed to create a dreamlike atmosphere, illuminating not just their faces, but also the memories they cherished. "Do you remember that summer we spent at the lake?" Emma asked, her eyes brightening at the thought. "We made those ridiculous sand castles, and then Sarah dared us to jump in fully dressed." Jake chuckled, his expression softening as he recalled the playful moment. "I remember you two shrieking when we splashed each other. I think I still have sand in my shoes from that day." Sarah laughed, joining in. "And how we tried to build a moat around the castle, only for it to wash away within minutes." Her laughter was infectious, reminding them all of simpler times when life felt carefree and full of possibility. As they reminisced about those joyful days, Emma felt warmth spreading through her chest, a realization that despite their current challenges, there had been moments filled with laughter and love. It made her heart swell with hope. Maybe there was space for joy again in her life. It's strange, Emma mused, her tone turning reflective. Back then, we had so many dreams about our futures. We thought we could conquer the world together. She glanced at Jake. I thought we'd be building a family together, too. Jake nodded solemnly, his eyes reflecting regret, but also an understanding of what those dreams meant to them both. Life has a way of shifting our plans, doesn't it? I never imagined I would feel so lost after leaving. I guess I underestimated how much I would miss having you both in my life. Sarah leaned forward, sensing the importance of this moment. But maybe this can be a different kind of beginning for us, Emma, she suggested gently. You're stepping into motherhood now, a beautiful, challenging journey. And while it may feel overwhelming at times, know that it can also be filled with incredible joy. Emma absorbed Sarah's words as if they were rays of sunlight breaking through the clouds. It's just hard to see that right now, she admitted quietly. The fear sometimes overshadows everything else. Of course it does, Jake said earnestly. But remember, you don't have to face this alone. You have support. Friends who care about you and want to help every step of the way. Feeling encouraged by their presence and sincerity, Emma allowed herself to envision what co-parenting might look like. Not just as a burden, but as something beautiful that could emerge from the remnants of heartbreak. Perhaps there was a way for all three of them to build new dreams together. I guess we could try to create something new, she said slowly, feeling more liberated with each word spoken. Blending our lives more than before, supporting each other through everything. Exactly, Sarah agreed enthusiastically. Families come in all forms nowadays. It's about love and commitment to one another. As they continued sharing stories and ideas about what lay ahead, Emma's heart began to lighten further. She felt empowered by the possibility of forming a meaningful support network. A bond united not just by history, but by shared experiences moving forward. The shadows around them felt less daunting now. Instead of representing fear or uncertainty, they began to symbolize hope, the chance for healing and new beginnings emerging from shared vulnerabilities and mutual commitment. In that cozy cabin by candlelight, surrounded by laughter mingling with heartfelt conversations, Emma realized she was no longer alone on this journey toward motherhood or navigating the complexities of relationships. The future held promise again. Together with Jake and Sarah beside her, she felt ready to embrace whatever came next, one step at a time. As the candles flickered softly, casting a warm glow around the small cabin, Emma felt a deeper connection forming with Sarah. It was as if they were weaving a tapestry of shared experiences, both joyful and painful, and it was comforting to realize that they weren't so different after all. With renewed confidence, Sarah spoke again. You know, Emma, I remember when we were in high school, and you always had this immense passion for life. You dreamed bigger than anyone else I knew. Do you remember how excited we were about our futures? Emma smiled at the memory of those carefree days filled with hopes and aspirations. I do. I thought I would travel the world and make a difference, maybe become a journalist or an artist. A hint of longing crept into her voice as she recalled the dreams she had nurtured before life took unexpected turns. And then life happened, Sarah said gently, her eyes reflecting understanding. I think we both faced challenges that made us question those dreams. But look at us now. Here we are, still dreaming and trying to figure it all out. Emma felt her heart swell with gratitude for Sarah's unwavering support. "You're right," she admitted, her voice growing stronger with each word. "I've let fear overshadow so much of my potential lately. I want to reclaim that part of myself, even if it feels daunting to step back into it." Sarah leaned in closer, her enthusiasm contagious. "You will. Embracing motherhood is just another part of your journey. You can still hold on to your dreams while being a mom. It's all about finding balance." Emma considered this for a moment, beginning to envision what that balance might look like. "I want to be the kind of mother who inspires my child," she said thoughtfully. "Someone who shows them how to dream big and go after what they want." "That's the spirit." Sarah cheered softly, her eyes bright with encouragement. "And trust me, you are not alone in this. We can tackle every challenge together." With newfound determination sparking within her, Emma turned to Jake, who had been quietly observing their exchange with a blend of admiration and introspection. "And you," she said softly but firmly. "What role do you see yourself playing in all this? I need to know you're committed to being there for our child." Jake met her gaze earnestly. "I want to show my commitment, not just because of the baby, but because of the love we once shared. I know I've made mistakes, but my feelings for you haven't disappeared. I want to be part of this new chapter together." As he spoke, Emma detected an earnestness in his tone that reassured her. She realized that a bond was forming between them again, built on honesty and accountability. Although the path ahead might be fraught with difficulties, there was also potential for healing. "Hope is what makes things possible," Emma replied with conviction. "And I feel that hope growing as we talk." "We can build new memories," Jake added, warming to the conversation. "We can redefine what family means for us." With their hearts opening up to one another again through shared dreams and aspirations, Emma felt a warm wave wash over her, a feeling she hadn't experienced in some time. Perhaps there was space to carve out something new from the remnants of old dreams, new possibilities paired with unwavering friendship forged in understanding. In that intimate setting, filled with laughter and nostalgia, Emma acknowledged how vital it was to cherish these connections moving forward. Those who would stand by her side as she navigated this uncharted territory into motherhood. As they continued reminiscing about happier times while dreaming up plans for the future, Emma finally felt hope seep into her heart like a warm sunrise breaking through cold shadows. Light ushering in a new day filled with promise and endless possibilities, awaiting them all just around the corner. As Emma sat in the cozy cabin, surrounded by flickering candlelight and the warmth of shared memories, she felt a shift within her. The earlier shadows of doubt began to lift as she listened to Sarah and Jake discuss their hopes for the future. A sense of connection blossomed among them, and for the first time in a long while, Emma realized that she didn't have to face motherhood alone. "Maybe we can make this work," Emma said softly, her voice filled with newfound determination. "I've spent so much time worrying about everything, about being a single mother and what it would mean for my life. But I think I'm starting to see that there are people who want to support me." Sarah nodded eagerly, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "Absolutely. You have us, Emma. We can figure this out together. It's all about finding ways to lean on each other." Emma looked at Jake, who had been quietly absorbing the conversation. She could see a glimmer of hope in his eyes as well, a willingness to step up and be part of their child's life. "And you too, Jake," she continued. "I hope you're serious about wanting to be involved. I need to know that I can count on you. Jake met her gaze with sincerity. I am serious, he replied firmly. I know I messed up before, but I want to be there for both you and our child. You won't have to do this alone, I promise. Hearing those words brought a wave of relief washing over Emma as she felt the weight of her fears begin to lift. The idea of co-parenting didn't seem like an insurmountable challenge anymore. Instead, it felt like an opportunity for growth, for all three of them. As they continued talking, sharing dreams about what their family could look like, Emma felt inspired by Sarah's stories and Jake's commitment. They discussed practical matters, how they could create routines that worked for all of them, how they would support each other during tough moments, and laughter filled the air as they brainstormed silly names for parenting teams. I think we should come up with our own superhero names, Sarah suggested playfully. You know, something that represents our unique family dynamic. Emma laughed at the thought and felt lighter than she had in weeks. Okay, how about Team Together? Or maybe the Dream Builders? Jake chuckled along with them, adding his own ideas into the mix. What about the Dynamic Trio? We'll tackle parenting one day at a time. Their laughter echoed through the cabin, filling it with warmth and lightness that had been absent for far too long. In that moment, Emma understood how vital it was to embrace these connections, both old and new, as they forged ahead into unfamiliar territory, with each shared laugh and dream discussed. Emma began envisioning a future where love triumphed over fear. A future where they supported one another through every challenge while creating cherished memories along the way. I really believe we can do this, Emma said finally, her heart swelling with hope. Together. As they settled into an easy rhythm of conversation filled with understanding and encouragement, Emma felt empowered by their collective strength. A reminder that even during difficult times, unexpected support could blossom from friendships rekindled. In that cozy cabin, illuminated by candlelight and shared aspirations, Emma recognized that motherhood would be an adventure full of ups and downs. But now she knew she wouldn't have to navigate it alone. With Sarah and Jake beside her as allies on this journey toward new beginnings, she felt ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, with open arms and an open heart. As the evening deepened and the shadows of the cabin lengthened, Emma felt a profound sense of transformation enveloping her. Surrounded by the flickering glow of candlelight and the warmth of companionship, she recognized that this moment marked a turning point in her life. The fears and doubts that had once clouded her heart began to dissipate, replaced by a renewed sense of strength and purpose. Jake and Sarah sat across from her, their expressions reflecting a mix of hope and solidarity. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of uncertainty lift just a little. You know, she began, her voice steadying, I've been so afraid of what lies ahead. I thought I would have to face everything alone. Motherhood, the challenges, the heartache. Sarah leaned in closer, her eyes encouraging. You don't have to be afraid anymore, Emma. You have us. We're here for you. With each word spoken, Emma felt herself buoyed by the support surrounding her. She looked at Jake, who seemed more vulnerable than ever, a man willing to step forward and take responsibility for the family they were about to bring into the world. You really mean that? She asked softly, searching his eyes for sincerity. I do, he replied earnestly. I want to be there for you and our child. I've realized how important it is to not just talk about being part of this journey, but to actively show up. This was the conversation Emma had longed for, a heartfelt declaration that sparked hope within her heart. The idea of co-parenting no longer felt like an insurmountable task. Instead, it became a shared journey filled with possibilities. "I've been thinking about how we can support each other," Emma said, as inspiration surged through her. "I want to create a space where we can all flourish, where our child feels loved and can see how we work together as a team." Sarah's smile widened at the thought, and Emma could see the glimmer of excitement in her friend's eyes. "That's beautiful. And you know what? It's okay if things aren't perfect right away. We'll learn as we go." The conversation flowed seamlessly among them as they began brainstorming practical ways to build their family dynamic. A routine that would include moments of joy as well as support during tougher times. They envisioned family outings where laughter filled the air and quiet evenings spent nurturing their bond through shared experiences. "Let's make sure we celebrate milestones together," Sarah suggested enthusiastically. "From birthdays to just regular days. Every moment matters." Emma nodded, feeling warmth spread through her chest at the thought of creating new traditions. "And maybe we can have a family night every week," she added. "Just something simple, games or movies, where we can all connect." Jake chimed in with ideas for activities that could foster connection within their new family structure. "And we should definitely include some outdoor adventures. Fresh air always clears my mind." As they shared laughter and excitement over their imagined future together, Emma felt something shift within her. A realization that she could embrace motherhood without fear when surrounded by love and support. In that cozy cabin filled with flickering light and new possibilities, Emma marveled at how far she had come. From feeling lost and alone to recognizing she had allies on this journey. She understood now that motherhood was not just about navigating challenges, but also about embracing joy and celebrating love in unexpected places. With each passing moment spent discussing their hopes and dreams, Emma felt empowered to step into this new chapter of her life as a mother with open arms and an open heart. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing she wouldn't have to do it alone. As they wrapped up their conversation, a sense of peace settled over Emma. A certainty that together they could create something beautiful out of their shared experiences and commitment to one another. With renewed hope blooming inside her, she was ready to embrace the adventure of motherhood, confident in the knowledge that love and friendship would guide her way forward.